Good evening. This is Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell with a severe weather update. We are tracking a tornado warning currently in Breckenridge County until 8:45 p.m. Speaking to the producers and directors back there, if you all could punch up Max 1 so we could take a look at the radar that we are checking right now. You can see the Max HD radar. We've been tracking this line of storms that's been cutting through Kentuckiana this evening. Much of this evening, we've been seeing severe thunderstorm warnings due to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, some quarter-size hail as well. But as we knew along this line, there was the potential for some spin-up tornadoes, and that is what we're seeing right now with this particular storm through Breckenridge County right now. So this tornado warning has been issued until 8:45 p.m. Central Daylight Time here. This does include Hardinsburg. This is for Breckenridge County at this point. Bigger picture view, that severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Breckenridge, Grayson, Meade, and Ohio counties, that is due to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and quarter-sized hail as well. So this storm is moving east at 50 miles per hour. We're seeing some radar indicated rotation near Hardinsburg. You do want to seek shelter if you are included in this tornado warning until this storm has passed your area. So this is in place for the next half hour here as this storm continues to push eastward around 50 miles per hour. So we can go ahead and put a track on this to give you an idea of where it is headed. So anytime we have one of these straight lines that moves through the area, we really have to watch it for that potential of rotation and spin up tornadoes as well. Now you can see here, obviously the tornado warning will not expand eastward into Louisville, but in terms of this line of storms, this is the timeline that we're looking at. So 9:26 p.m. Eastern time, it's moving into Brandenburg, Louisville, Bardstown, Frankfort, Campbellsville. You can see there through 11 p.m. That's the general direction that this is moving in. But let's zoom in a little bit closer to give you all a better idea of what we're looking at here. I do want to reiterate that most of us, we are under a tornado watch until 1 a.m. Really until this main line of storms clears through the area here. So Hardinsburg, Irvington, you're included in this tornado warning until 8:45 p.m. Due to that little notch that you're seeing here. So let's see if we put on velocity, if we can see any kind of rotation here. Obviously, the National Weather Service was seeing something to indicate that a tornado is possible within this line of thunderstorms that's tracking eastward at 50 miles per hour. And once again, other locations that are included in this: Garfield, High Plains Corner, Locust Hill, Irvington, Graysville, Clifton Mills, Webster, Kirk, High Plains, and Bewleyville. So you do want to take cover now if you are included in this tornado warning until 8:45 Central Time. And I'm going to turn that back on so you can see the watch and the warnings that we are looking at here. So a reminder, most of us are included in that tornado watch until 1 a.m. and we are looking at a specific tornado warning until 8:45 p.m. This is for Breckenridge County. So this does include Hardinsburg, this does include Irvington, this includes Garfield, Kingswood, Kirk, Clifton Mills, Bewleyville, Corners, Custer as well. And this storm, I will say, it's moving fairly quickly to the east at 50 miles per hour. So that is good news. It's going to be moving in and out quite quickly. And at this point, we're not looking at a confirmed tornado on the ground, but just a reminder that oftentimes tornado warnings are issued due to radar indicated rotation. So we're erring on the side of caution. We're seeing just enough spin along that line to where you do want to take cover until this storm has passed. Now I am going to move out to the wide view of the Kentuckiana viewing area here to see what we're looking at. So you can tell a lot of us not under an active warning. The reds that you see on this map, that's a tornado warning. The yellows that you see on the map, that's a thunderstorm warning, severe thunderstorm warning. So even if you're not included in that tornado warning, the bigger picture view of the yellow here from Brandenburg really down to Caneyville, Litchfield as well, just outside of that, it's just northeast of Beaver Dam. You are under a severe thunderstorm warning, which still can pack a punch with strong winds, hail, lots of lightning, heavy rainfall as well. And that severe thunderstorm warning also goes until 8:45 p.m. Central Time, 9:45 p.m. Eastern Time. And this entire line is moving east at 55 miles per hour. So that one is obviously a lot wider. We're looking at that severe thunderstorm warning for south central Harrison County, Meade County, Hancock County, Grayson County, Breckenridge County, Hardin County, and Ohio County here in central Kentucky. But the reason why we're cutting into American Idol is due to this tornado warning. It is our station policy that we cut in when there is a tornado warning in the viewing area, and we do stay on until that tornado warning has cleared. So you're looking at the red box here. That is your tornado warning until 8:45 p.m. Central Daylight Time. This was located near Hardinsburg at 8:13. That's when the National Weather Service did trigger this tornado warning, and it is moving east at 50 miles per hour. So you do want to head to the lowest level of your home here. If you have a basement, obviously that's the best place to go. If not, you want to head to an interior room away from windows, lowest level of your home. You want to cover your head. You want to stay there until this tornado warning has passed off to your east. And just a reminder, the difference between a watch and a warning, because we have both of those on the map this evening. A watch means that we have the right ingredients for severe weather. Obviously, we have a line of storms that's passing through Kentuckiana. This packing a punch with some strong winds, heavy rainfall, gusty winds, hail, lightning as well. And we are seeing a few of those notches along the line. And when you tap into some of that rotation, that's what can trigger a tornado warning. Tornado warning is issued for a much shorter period of time. Watch is for hours over a bigger geographic area. Warning means that you do want to take shelter immediately. You want to take action. You do want to head to that safe space. And many of us are still included in that tornado watch until this line really clears our particular area. So the watch is until 1 a.m. You can see much wider area that we're looking at. The warning that we're looking at for Breckenridge County, that is for a much shorter period of time. That will take us through about the next 20 minutes or so until that storm has pushed off to the east. So this thunderstorm that showed some rotation was located around Hardinsburg, Kentucky here, and is continuing to track east around 55 miles per hour. This tornado warning is in place until 8:45 Central Daylight Time and until 9:45 Eastern Daylight Time. I do want to zoom out because I see another red polygon here. We do have another tornado warning that has been issued just northeast of the one that we were watching here. So this one includes Brandenburg, Fort Knox, Radcliffe, just west of Shepherdsville as well. West Point, you're included in this. This is just north of Vine Grove. And this is until 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So this will take us through the end of the hour here because a severe thunderstorm warning capable of producing both tornadoes and extensive straight-line wind damage were located near Brandenburg, and it's moving also east at 55 miles per hour. So we're seeing some of that radar-indicated rotation here. And we are expecting this to continue until 10 o'clock Eastern Time. So you do want to take cover immediately. This particular tornado warning does include Guston, Mockport, New Boston, Rock Haven, Hughes Landing, Pitts Point, Buck Grove, Howard, and Dietz Acres. You can see Fort Knox is included in this particular tornado warning as well. This is for southern Harrison County, southeastern Meade County, southwestern Bullitt County, and northeastern Hardin County until 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'm going to zoom out to show you where we're looking at here. This is all south of Louisville at this point. We had lucked out for much of this evening, but I was worried about that southern edge of the storms. If you were watching us on our Facebook Live or on our stream on our 11 Plus app, I was watching this kind of the western edge of these storms that was packing a bit more of a punch as it's continued to push eastward here. So that's exactly what we're seeing. Max HG radar showing a lot of lightning, so we still have quite a bit of fuel that we're packing into, even if you're not seeing that severe thunderstorm warning or that tornado warning. Still going to be pretty noisy out there with pockets of heavy rainfall, even some small hail, although hail is not really our main concern this evening. So once again, if you're just popping on here, this is meteorologist Mallory Schnell with WHAS 11. We are tracking severe storms that are tracking through southern Indiana and Kentucky this evening, and we do have two tornado warnings that we are paying attention to this evening. And they are for the next half hour to 35 minutes here. So one does include Hardinsburg. That was the first one that was issued, and this will take us until 8:45 p.m. Central Daylight Time here. This is for central Breckinridge County, and this is moving east toward 50 miles per hour. And then the next one includes Brandenburg, Fort Knox, Shepherdsville, Radcliffe. It's heading toward Lebanon Junction as well, and that one is until 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So what you're seeing here is a potential futurecast for the rest of the evening. We are looking at those storms to push east and southeast through about midnight, 1 a.m. But if we can move back over to Max 1 here, you can see the 2 tornado warnings that we are watching. The southern edge, that was issued first until 8:45 p.m. Central Daylight Time. The northeastern one, that is until 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So you certainly want to seek shelter if you are in these red polygons here. That means a tornado warning has been issued. It means there's enough rotation on radar to indicate that a tornado may occur. And that's certainly a risk that we see anytime we have these even straight lines of storms, these QLCSs that push through the area. They can produce brief spin-up tornadoes. So that's what we're looking at here with these 2 tornado warnings. Anytime you see a little bit of a notch here, that's what you're looking for in terms of rotation. So you kind of see this bright green and red here around Garfield. I believe that is what we're looking at in terms of the rotation with the southern edge storm that is passing through Breckinridge County at this time. And the reason why we do have that tornado warning in place until 8:45. That's warning number 1. That has been extended to now include E-Town. So just as we were looking at where that rotation currently was, you're looking at storm wind speed here. Velocity is a way to quantify wind direction and wind speed. And anytime you're seeing bright reds, bright greens, that means those winds, they're moving in opposite directions toward and away from the radar. So that can indicate rotation. So if you're in Garfield, you need to seek shelter. Graysville, really downstream of this, Woodrow, Custer, Corners, Big Spring, High Plains, Four Corners. This is headed toward E-Town. E-Town, you have time to get in your safe place at this point, but you are included in this new tornado warning that was issued until 10 p.m. So it does look like the National Weather Service has continued to extend that. I do want to jump northward to this additional tornado warning that we're looking at. And yeah, you can see that very slight curl here. So anytime you see these notches within a main line, that can show where something is trying to tighten up a little bit. It's trying to spin around itself. And that's what we're looking at with this particular storm as well. So I'm going to zoom out to give everybody kind of an idea of what we're looking at. And we're going to put back on the radar. And where you're seeing this red colored in. So now basically the 2 tornado warnings have more or less fused here to where we're looking at this line of storms that's showing just enough curl, just enough rotation to trigger these tornado warnings that are now taking us for the next half hour until 10 p.m. So this does head east towards Shepherdsville. E-Town, you're included in this tornado warning as well. You want to head to your safe place. Vine Grove, Radcliffe, West Point, Fort Knox. And in general, these storms have been moving around 50 miles per hour, 55 miles per hour. So I will say that is the good news in the sense that this will be tracking through here very quickly. And in fact, if I do put the tracker on here, we can get an idea of where this is headed and the timeline that we're looking at. So Fort Knox, this will be in your area around 9:41. So you've got about another 10 minutes there. E-Town, 9:55. That's going to be toward the end of this tornado warning. We'll see if they continue to extend it. Basically, usually if that's the case, it's still showing signs of rotation in terms of the velocity. So this will be something that we have to watch over the next half hour. Beyond that would be Boston. Boston's not included in the tornado warning, but if this hangs together, you would be. Does look like just north of that, they have issued a new severe thunderstorm warning. This does include portions of the Louisville metro area. So this severe thunderstorm warning, is heading toward the Louisville metro until 10 p.m. and this is for 60-mile-per-hour wind gust. So we're not seeing the rotation in that particular area for southeastern Harrison, southwestern Jefferson, northwestern Bullitt County, but we still do have a severe thunderstorm warning until 10 p.m. Still a very good idea to get away from windows, stay indoors until that severe thunderstorm warning has passed, because obviously 60-mile-per-hour winds can do a good bit of damage as well in terms of tree damage, also power outages, things of that nature. So let's zoom back out to the big picture view here, and we are going to take off the storm tracker and give you all a big picture view of what we're looking at. So we have had this complex of storms that's been pushing east and southeastward through the area. And as I mentioned earlier, really what I've been concerned with is this western flank of storms. So we did have the storms in southern Indiana kind of push through earlier, and then since then we've had this western flank of storms moving in, tapping into that energy and just wanting to spin up a little bit more than the northern edge of storms. And that's what we're seeing here with the tornado warnings that have been issued at this time. I'm looking over to our National Weather Service office chat to see if there's any reports of damage, seeing some reports of power outages and also tree damage. No tornado sightings at this point, which is good news, but always better to be safe rather than sorry when it comes to these tornado warnings. When you're starting to see those signs of rotation, the National Weather Service does want to go ahead and get out ahead of that to make sure you are in your safe place in case a very quick tornado does pop up. So for those just joining us, we are on wall-to-wall coverage now due to the 2 tornado warnings that we are tracking this evening. I'm going to take off the radar view here so we can just pay attention to the tornado warnings themselves, or just the warnings themselves. What you're looking at here, the yellow thunderstorm warnings or severe thunderstorm warnings, that is due to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, quarter-sized hail as well. The reds, those are your tornado warnings. That means we have been seeing just enough rotation on radar that the National Weather Service went ahead and issued tornado warnings for those particular areas. So we're going to zoom into the affected areas here and talk about how long these are in place for. These until 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time or 9 p.m. Central Daylight Time for the southeastern Meade County, central Breckenridge County, and the central Hardin County tornado warning. This tornado warning was issued at 9:26 because a severe thunderstorm warning just 9 miles east of Hardinsburg was moving east at 55 miles per hour, showing that radar indicated rotation. So E-Town, you need to go ahead and get in your safe place. Radcliffe, you're included in this as well, kind of at the crosshairs of these 2 storms. The one on the northern edge also until 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time due to that storm that started off around Brandenburg and is pushing east, still around 50 to 55 miles per hour. So these should be jetting along pretty quickly. We'll see if that rotation kind of holds together and whether or not this needs to be continued down the road. But as I mentioned, even the areas not seeing that tornado warning, we are dealing with some gusty winds. National Weather Service said Meade County just recorded a 67-mile-per-hour wind gust. So a good reason for these severe thunderstorm watches that are in place, all in the yellow color here. This does include portions of the Louisville metro area as well on the north side of this. That I believe is also until 10 o'clock. So a lot of these warnings will take us through 10 o'clock. That severe thunderstorm warning does include Fern Creek, Valley Station, heading toward Mount Washington as well. So we can put on the radar portion of this to show you what we're looking at here. The main threat that we are seeing with this line of storms would be straight line winds. And that has been the case for much of this evening if you have been seeing a severe thunderstorm. But as we mentioned, you get just enough bowing, just enough rotation. You get a little curl along that main front. You see a little bit of rotation there, and that can lead to these tornado warnings being issued.
So this will take us through the next 25 minutes or so. And we'll see how this storm continues to evolve as it pushes eastward here. I'm going to take this back about 15 to 30 minutes so we can see how it's been moving. It is moving very quickly, I will say that. And basically once this main line pushes east of you, so for instance, Hardinsburg, this is already east of you at this point. You're technically still under that 1 tornado warning, but once that main line is east, you're getting away from that, really the straight line wind threat and also the spin up tornado threat. Behind the line, you're still going to be dealing with maybe pockets of heavy rainfall, some lightning as well, but you're not looking at as much of a wind threat at that point. I do want to point out that we still are under a tornado watch. So even if you're not seeing an active warning at this point, you can see the tornado watch that has been issued for much of Kentuckiana now. This will take us until, I believe, 1 a.m. unless they've changed the timing on this, 4 a.m. That's because of the far eastern counties of this. But most of us will not be looking at severe weather for that long. Louisville, we're talking maybe the next hour or two, though we have missed a lot of the main severe weather activity in the Louisville metro area. Much of it has been off to our north or off to our south due to having a little bit more stable air in place. We had an outflow boundary that moved through earlier, and we've kind of missed out, thankfully, on the worst of it. Breckinridge County, the tornado warning for you, that has been expired. So that's the reason why we cut in to begin with. But it is continuing eastward at this time. So let's take you back to the warnings here and see what we're looking at across Kentuckiana. So this storm will continue to track east pretty quickly, around 50, 55 miles per hour. So E-Town, Radcliffe, Fort Knox, Vine Grove, Rineyville, Shepherdsville, I would say even. Some of these cities that are right on the edge of it, probably a good idea just to make sure you're indoors, away from windows here as that storm is headed your direction. Lebanon Junction would be included in that as well, just off the east side of that, as it starts to head closer to I-65 at this point this evening. So let's see where it's located at this point. So yeah, so E-Town, this will be headed your direction, I'd say, within the next 15 to 20 minutes because it is moving eastward pretty quickly at 55 miles per hour here. So anytime you're seeing, as we mentioned, those few notches along the main line, that's where you're trying to look for any signs of rotation here. But even without that, we have had some pockets of 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gust. And I do want to point out that sometimes severe thunderstorm warnings can do just as much damage as a low-end tornado. 70 mile per hour winds can do a lot of damage in terms of tree damage and also power outages as well. So you do want to take those seriously. And many of these have been packing a punch with some strong winds, some heavy rainfall, frequent lightning as well. And we have had a decent amount of storm fuel to tap into. That's what we're looking at here. And you can tell once that line has kind of pushed through. So even if it's still raining in southern Indiana, your storm fuel is basically all in Kentucky at this point in terms of the instability that we're looking at. So the storms that we have ongoing in southern Indiana, not posing that severe weather threat. The ones that we are tracking in Kentucky, still posing a bit of a severe weather threat here. I do want to walk you through the futurecast in terms of what you can expect for the rest of this evening, when we can expect these storms to get out of here. This futurecast sped up a little too much, so take that with a grain of salt. But this will continue to march east and southeastward in that general direction as a cold front cuts through tonight. And so our main severe weather threat will be ending from northwest to east and southeast through the rest of the evening and into the overnight hours. So that's why most of us were looking at that weather impact alert through about midnight or 1 a.m. After that point, the leading line, it's out of the Kentuckiana viewing area, and we'll be taking that severe weather threat along with it. Then tomorrow we get some dry time, and Monday and Tuesday looking primarily quiet. But this has been a strong storm system as this cold front tracks east and southeast here. You can see most of us included in that level 3 out of 5 for severe weather. But as I mentioned, when we just looked at that storm fuel, you can tell that basically Louisville southward
is dealing with level 3 out of 5 still. Meanwhile, our southern Indiana counties, it's taking, that instability is basically gone for you. We're looking at some lingering showers and maybe some thunderstorms, but the storm fuel at this point is more so to the south with that line that's tracking in from the east. And that's where we're seeing the problem areas right now. So it does look like the National Weather Service has continued the tornado warning for Meade, or they canceled the one for Meade in Breckinridge County. They've continued it for Hardin County until 10 p.m. That's what we're looking at for E-Town at this point. We're going to zoom back in. So that storm is moving into Hardin County as we speak. Moving out of Breckinridge County. And also to the one just off to the north for portions of Bullitt, Hardin, Harrison, Meade counties as well. Fort Knox on your doorstep at this point. So you are in your safe place and stay there for the next 15 to 20 minutes until this passes. You will be in all clear. Even on that north of this, a severe thunderstorm around quarter as well, though I don't think is really the main concern we're looking at here. Obviously, straight line winds and embedded tornadoes with any kind of spin up that you can see along line, and that's what we've been tracking here this evening. We got into coverage. In. All right. Thank you all for joining us this evening. This is meteorologist Mallory Schnell. We're going to stick with you through this tornado warning until 10 o'clock Eastern time, 9 p.m. Central time. We have 2 tornado warnings that we are tracking. One is for Hardin County. Yes, this is heading toward E-Town, and then the north side of this one does include Fort Knox. It's heading toward Shepherdsville as well. It's pretty much right over the radar site there at West Point. This is for Bullitt and Hardin counties until 10 p.m. So a reminder, your safe place, lowest level of your home, away from windows. You do want to cover your head. You want to make sure you stay indoors really until that severe weather threat has passed and that tornado warning has ended. And we are looking at these going to track eastward. Thankfully, I will say the good news is they are moving very quickly, 50 to 55 miles per hour. So once the main line, you're pretty much in the clear. But we are going to be, I know not as you can hear, there's much too long. I've been looking at this thing. And that's moving into Mud, right? And then the southern edge, the west, that is what's causing trouble here. The severe thunderstorm warnings and especially the tornado warnings that we have in here. So, and I'm for the new storm. This is for southwest. Spencer County, northwestern Nelson County, Bullitt County, and northeastern Hardin County in central Kentucky. This storm moving a little bit slower at 45 miles per hour. And this one was just issued at 9:51 p.m. So this is a new tornado warning, basically that they're continuing to trigger out ahead of this line. So you do want to head to your safe place now until this storm has passed. This includes High Grove, Samuels Field Airport, Bardstown, of course, Bardstown Junction, Hobbs, Scuffletown, Cedar Grove, Bellwood, Belmont, and Botland as well. That's what's included in the written warning here due to radar indicated rotation. So now we have several tornado warnings that we are watching at this place, at this time, excuse me. I'm currently reading up on the National Weather Service chat. And it does appear that the National Weather Service here in Louisville is sheltering in place. So Jefferson County, we also have a severe thunderstorm warning and now a tornado warning for you. So we have several tornado warnings going on at once here. This newest one is for southern Jefferson County, northeastern Bullitt County until 10:15. This includes Okolona, Fairdale, Fern Creek. You want to get in your safe place right now. This includes the Louisville International Airport. Basically, we're looking at south of the Watterson Expressway, Iroquois Park, Fairdale as well. You want to make sure you get in your safe place because you are now included in this tornado warning. If you see a red polygon, that is a tornado warning until 10:15 due to these strong storms that are rolling through that can produce straight line wind damage and also a tornado. We've been seeing that due to radar indicated rotation. So you do want to make sure you get in your safe place. We're talking Iroquois Park, Fairdale, Okolona, Buchel, J-Town, Fern Creek, Asheville, Hillview, Mount Washington, Fox Chase. We're seeing a lot of red on this map right now as this line of storms continues to track eastward. So we do have a tornado warning. I want you to stay in your safe place for the next 20 to 30 minutes. Make sure you get down to your basement. If you don't have a basement, make sure you do get away from windows on the lowest level of your home. You protect your head and you do stay in place until this tornado warning has passed your area. So let's take a look at these individual tornado warnings here. We still have the one for Hardin County, including E-Town. This is until 10 p.m. So we've got another 5 minutes or so for you. We were seeing that indication, that radar rotation around Radcliffe. And basically, as this continues to track eastward, it's holding enough rotation with it to where we are continuing that tornado warning. Fort Knox, Lebanon Junction, Bardstown, you need to be in your safe place. Cox's Creek as well. Shepherdsville included in that northernmost tornado warning. This is until 10:15, so that's for about the next 20 minutes or so. And then going north from there, basically along I-65. This storm is continuing to track west to east here. So Okolona, Fern Creek, Buchel, you're right on the northern edge of that. If this holds together, it will head towards Fisherville, Mount Washington, Hillview. You're included in this one until 10:15 p.m. So we are looking at multiple tornado warnings at this time. That is why we have cut into American Idol this evening, and we will continue to stay with you until these tornado warnings have been allowed to expired or allowed to be canceled as well.
So just a little bit of an update on some power outages right now, Mallory. Nothing too alarming, but they are growing. Right now we've got in Breckenridge County as of 9:53. We've got about 1,600 customers without power right now. That's in Breckenridge County. And then in Meade County, we've got about 1,300 customers without power right now. Those numbers have continued to grow over the last 40 minutes that we've been monitoring. And then in Indiana, as of 9:55 tonight, we have about 900 customers in Harrison County in Indiana without power. And again, that number has also been growing over the last about 40 minutes tonight.
All right, thank you, Alex. Once again, for anybody just turning over to ABC, WHAS 11, we are breaking into coverage here due to several tornado warnings that we have been watching for the past half hour or so as this line of storms continues to track east and southeastward. So I do want to reiterate, if you did get a warning for a tornado warning in your particular area, you do want to seek shelter immediately. You want to stay in that safe place until that warning has passed for your particular area. And you can see this line of storms here. It's continuing to track east and southeastward. I will say some good news with it. It's moving quickly. So it's moving 50 to 55 miles per hour, should be moving in and out. And then once kind of you hear those winds die down and you see that you are out of that tornado warning for however long that was particularly issued for you, well, you might continue to have some rain. You might continue to have some thunder basically on the backside of that. But what we're paying attention to is that main leading line. That's where we're seeing those damaging wind gusts, 60 up to 70 miles per hour in some spots. And we are seeing just enough radar indicated rotation to trigger some of those tornado warnings. So we're going to zoom back into those particular areas this evening and get you the information that you do need. Louisville, we do have some tornado warnings for the Louisville metro area. I'm going to take off the radar because I know sometimes it can just be too overwhelming with too much on here. So let's just zoom into the particular warnings at this point. Red, tornado warning. Yellow, severe thunderstorm warning. So we're going to start from north to south here in terms of the tornado warnings that we are tracking. So you can see the areas in red. That does include the Louisville metro area. We have portions of Jefferson County included in this, and obviously it goes to the south down to Bullitt County as well. But this is until 10:15. You can see for Hillview, Okolona, Fairdale, Buchel, Fern Creek. If this holds together, it'd be heading toward Fisherville, Mount Washington. If we continue to zoom south with it, this does include Bartstown as well, Cox's Creek, Shepherdsville. A lot of these are until 10:15, so we're going to see how things look in the next 10 to 15 minutes and whether or not the National Weather Service will continue to push eastward or with these warnings as well. Granted, they are sheltering in place at this point because they are currently under a tornado warning. So until they're in the all clear, we might not have much of an update there. But also Hardin County, E-Town included in this tornado warning until 10 p.m. So that's just for the next minute or so. We'll see if how this looks as it continues to track eastward, because National Weather Service may not be in a place to be able to extend these. But this line of storms is currently moving through E-Town as we speak, basically right up I-65. Lebanon Junction, this is where the leading line of this storm is currently headed. It's moving towards Shepherdsville at this point. Hillview, heading toward Mount Washington here. Okolona, it's moving very quickly. Main line heading toward Fern Creek, J-Town. On the north end of it, where we don't have any kind of tornado warnings, but you might still have a noisy storm with heavy rainfall, lightning. That's more so Anchorage, heading toward Crestwood, Prospect as well. But once again, you all are not included in that tornado warning. I will say, once you get this main line out of here, you're in the clear of severe weather. So if you're basically, let me turn off the radar here to give you all a better idea, because I know there's a lot of colors on this map. If you are west of that little arrow that I just drew, west and northwest, you might still be dealing with rain, but the severe weather threat will continue to march eastward. And you can kind of see that general idea right here on this map with all the filled in polygons. So this storm's continuing to track eastward. It does look like National Weather Service is back on their operations floor, so they will continue to trigger warnings because that main line has passed their area at this point in terms of the leading line. They're right around the Gene Snyder and 65 there. So what we're paying attention to now is just on the east side of this lead line. So Fern Creek, Fairmount, I need you to be in your safe place right now. J-Town as well. Fisherville, I'd go ahead and be in your safe place as well for the next 15 minutes. Mount Washington, this is headed your direction. Highgrove, Cox's Creek, Bourbon Springs, Bartstown. This still has a ways to get to you because it's currently off to the west near Lebanon Junction. But you all are also included in this tornado warning until 10:15 p.m. Eastern time. To the south side, E-Town, it looks like you're in the clear for now, but this main line is currently headed your direction. So we're still expecting probably some strong winds out of it, heavy rainfall, frequent lightning as well, as this continues to march eastward around 50 to 55 miles per hour. So I'm going to put a tracker on this so we can see the current timeline for this line of storms. It's moving primarily due east, slightly southeast, I would say. Mount Washington, obviously right around now. Bartstown, 10:14. Shelbyville, 10:17. Harrisonville, 10:30. So this is continuing to move east and slightly southeast with this main line of storms here. A reminder that many of us, we are still included in this tornado watch until about 1 a.m. But more or less, once you get cleared from a tornado warning, if you're in one right now, that severe weather threat really should pass in your particular area. So it looks like the National Weather Service is starting to put some updates with this line of storms now that they're back on the operations floor. Let's take a look. So yes, as the storm continues to track eastward, Shepherdsville, Lebanon Junction, Bartstown, you're still included in that warning. For the Louisville metro area, along I-65 is clear, but you can see as we move eastward, more so Fern Creek, Fairmont, just south of J-Town, along the Gene Snyder there, Fisherville. Does look like Mount Washington was allowed to be cleared from that warning at this time. And in terms of severe thunderstorm warnings, I'm not seeing too many of those at this point. So let's zoom out. Let's kind of regroup, recover, see where we're at this point. Once again, if you're just tuning in, Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell with WHAS 11. We do cut into coverage anytime there's a tornado warning in the Kentuckiana viewing area, and it's our protocol to stick with you until that tornado warning has been allowed to expire or be canceled. So if this does not include your particular area, consider yourself blessed that you're not dealing with a tornado warning at this point, but some of our viewers are, so we will continue to stick with you until that threat has ended. And we've been tracking these storms with you all evening. I know somewhat on Facebook Live, on our 11 Plus app, during our newscast, and now here wall-to-wall coverage with you for the past half hour, 45 minutes or so, as we continue to track this main line of storms. And once again, you can see where the strongest storms are within this complex. It's where you're seeing all those lightning strikes along that leading edge. Once that leading edge moves through your area, you may continue to get some showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder on the backside of it. But what we're really concerned about is the strong wind gust and the potential for some radar indicated rotation along that leading edge. These straight line winds can be sneaky. They can cause a lot of damage. But anytime you're seeing a line of storms like this, it's called a QLCS. It can tap into just enough shear, which is that rotation, to where it can kind of spin up around itself and cause a tornado warning and potentially a verified tornado, which we will not know likely until we start to survey some of the damage tomorrow. But let's regroup and take you into some of these tornado warnings that we do have in place across Kentuckiana. Here's that big picture view of the radar right now. You can see a lot of lightning, heavy rainfall, gusty winds likely as well. And because of some of the radar indicated rotation we have been seeing, we do have tornado warnings in place at this time. So we're going to turn on just the warnings. We're going to take away some of that radar noise here. And it's continuing that same kind of trend. So it's these same few storms as they're tracking eastward. They are continuing to hold together just enough of rotation to trigger additional tornado warnings. So we do have this new tornado warning until 10:30, and this is for portions of Spencer County, Shelby County, East Central Jefferson County, and Northeastern Bullitt County. This is until 10:30. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing both tornadoes and extensive straight line wind damage. These storms were located along a line extending from Fern Creek to Spring Mill, and they're moving east at 55 miles per hour. Once again, this is radar indicated rotation. This does not necessarily mean that we have seen a tornado with our own eyes. It's hard to see anyway at night, but it does mean that you want to head to the lowest level of your home. You want to head away from windows, and you want to make sure you do shelter in place until this tornado warning has passed. In addition to that, on the southern edge, we're still tracking this particular tornado warning until 10:15, and this does include areas like southwestern Spencer County, northwestern Nelson County, Bullitt County, and far portions of Hardin County, though that's continuing to push east of E-Town. It does look like that one tornado warning that we did have in place in E-Town as it tracks east of 65. It has been downgraded to a severe thunderstorm warning. This does include threats like 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and penny-sized hail until 10:30. So this can still pack a punch, of course, but the main two tornado warnings that we're looking at are on the northern edge of this right now. Alex, do you have any updates?
I do, yes. So we do have some updates on these power outages that just came in over the last few minutes. So in Jefferson County right now, we have just nearly 18,000 customers that are without power right now. Heading just south to Bullitt County, we have about 4,500 customers without power right now. And then in Meade County, we've got 1,800 customers without power. Breckenridge, we're still around the 1,800 range of customers who don't have power right now. And then we'll check over in Indiana, and right now in Harrison County, we've got about 900 customers without power. We will still keep giving you updates on that. But just a reminder, if you don't have power, reminder that we do stream these as well, so you can keep up to date with all of Mallory's updates on these warnings and watches on there.
All right, thank you, Alex. Yes, once again, we are tracking this complex of thunderstorms marching east and southeast this evening. That's what you're seeing on your screen right now. It does look like we have one of our webcams to downtown Louisville. At this point, I will say downtown Louisville, you are in the clear of severe weather. This is continuing to push eastward and into the eastern sides of Jefferson County, and more so eastward into Shelby and Spencer counties. It does look like tornado sirens likely going off if you currently live in Shelby County. That is due to the newest tornado warning that was issued. I'm looking at reports from the National Weather Service. Law enforcement, this is in Clark County, Indiana, reports roads impassable due to high water. That is at Dutch Lane at Champion Road in Jeffersonville. So that goes to show you, even though some areas aren't dealing with the, quote, severe side of it in terms of winds and tornado warnings, we still have quite a bit of rain, especially on the northern edge of this, where we are seeing maybe some flash flooding concerns as well. So the storm system really packing a punch as it marches eastward. It's tapping into some of that rotation that's been in place that we were worried about, and some of the storm energy that we're still looking at as well. So this is a big picture view. Once again, once this main line, basically where all of the lightning is, once that passes your area, so we're talking, Hardinsburg, Brandenburg, downtown Louisville, southern Indiana for the most part, unless you're on the east side of our coverage area, we are looking at clear in terms of that severe weather potential. But unfortunately, we do have a few warnings that we are continuing to track, and we will stay on air with you until these tornado warnings have been cleared. So the tornado warning that was issued for portions of Hardin County, that has been downgraded to a severe thunderstorm warning. That's what you're seeing in that yellow or orangish color. Red means tornado warning. So let's zoom into a few of these right now. This storm system is continuing to track eastward, once again pretty quickly, 50 to 55 miles per hour. This current warning on the north side includes portions of Fisherville, Shelbyville, you're right on the northern edge of this, Taylorsville. It is now moving out of Mount Washington, and this is until 10:15, or excuse me, this one is until 10:30, I'm sorry. This one is until 10:30, so for about the next 20 minutes here. The one to the south, that includes Shepherdsville, Cox's Creek, Bardstown, Lebanon Junction. This one is until 10:15. So let's see where the radar is now that we know where these warnings are. If you pop on the radar on top of it, you can see where the storm currently is and where it's heading. So it is moving out of Mount Washington. Fern Creek, you should be in the clear at this point. Fisherville, it's pretty much right over you at this point. Simpsonville, you're right on the northern edge of it. Shelbyville, it's heading toward Taylorsville, but not at that point just yet. Taylorsville Lake. Cox's Creek headed that direction, and it's heading toward Bardstown as well. So even though this is only issued for the next 5 minutes, I wouldn't be surprised if they extend that simply because it's not at Bardstown at this point. And then on the southern edge of this, where we're seeing 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, we're actually seeing some storms pop ahead of that line around New Haven. E-Town, still probably a very impactful storm moving right over you at this point with heavy rainfall and gusty winds, where we do have this severe thunderstorm warning in place until 10:30. So tornado warning means you need to shelter in place until that threat has passed. Severe thunderstorm warning, you want to head indoors regardless, try to get away from windows. because 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts can do a lot of damage in terms of tree damage and also power outages as well. As Alex has mentioned, we've been seeing quite a bit of power outages across the area so far tonight, and many of us still included in that tornado watch. Now, I will say where this storm has continued to push east and southeast, I don't think southern Indiana, most of you need to be included in this tornado watch anymore. We will likely see this be chipped away throughout the evening once the National Weather Service has time to catch up to it. They've been so busy issuing, of course, all these warnings and keeping a close eye on the radar. But once that leading edge has moved east and southeast of your area, we're expecting that tornado watch to be chipped away as well. But a good reason that tornado watch was issued, because we are seeing just enough rotation in these storms to issue some of these tornado warnings. You're seeing straight line winds as the primary damage with these storms, but once again, all it takes is just a little bit of rotation, a little bit of shear to tap into to trigger kind of a sneaky tornado warning. And let's see if we can see any of that storm relative velocity on here. So anytime you're dealing with kind of notches in these storms, that's when you want to pay attention to where you might be dealing with some winds that are moving in opposite directions that can lead to issuing a tornado warning. And you often see that anytime there's kind of a notch in the lines here. So National Weather Service went ahead and extended these eastward. And even if, thankfully, we don't see a tornado out of some of these, they still are issued for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts as well. It does look like we do have a few flood advisories: Meade County, Ohio County, Perry, Indiana, Grayson County, Kentucky, Hancock, Harrison, Indiana, Breckenridge County, Kentucky. They went ahead and issued a flood advisory, and it does appear that we have a flash flood warning as well. So let me focus on that for just a moment so we can see where that's right here. English, Palmyra included in this flash flood warning until 1:15. So this kind of crosses a lot of counties right here: West Central Clark County in central Indiana, Crawford County in south central Indiana, Western Floyd County, Harrison County, Orange County, Perry County, Washington County. So heavy rainfall. This is a storm system that's packing a punch in many different ways in terms of course, strong winds, those tornado warnings, and also flash flood warnings, and that's what we're seeing at this point. So 10:15 right now, we do have a tornado warning for Washington County and Nelson County. So let's go ahead and look at that latest one. I'm assuming what's happening is basically they're extending this as the line marches eastward. So more or less, this has just kind of been a continuation of the same line. And as it marches eastward, thankfully, I've been reiterating this, but it's moving pretty quickly, 50 to 55 miles per hour. So it's hopping through these counties and not spending too much time in one particular area for too long. But this is the one that includes Bardstown and is continuing to track eastward into Washington County. And this one is now until 10:45 Eastern time. So once again, if you are included in this tornado warning, this is for Washington County and northeastern Nelson County. It includes Bardstown. You want to make sure you are in your safe place until 10:45 due to the potential of seeing a spin-up tornado along this leading line of storms that is tracking east. Once again, at 50 miles per hour. So this is the newest tornado warning that was just issued at 10:15 from the National Weather Service here in Louisville. Watch expansion is coming. Does look like they're going to continue to expand the tornado watch probably east of our particular viewing area as this line of storms continues to track eastward. Let's move to the northern edge of this storm system. You can see all the areas that are still included in this particular warning here until 10:30 as well. So we're talking Elk Creek, Wilsonville, Olive Branch, Hooper, Hemp Ridge, Finchville as well. You want to make sure you are in your safe place. This is for central Spencer and southwestern Shelby counties. This squall line, it's continuing to track eastward. And obviously we're seeing straight line wind damage, but the potential for some of these tornadoes to spin up as well. So this includes Taylorsville, Taylorsville Lake, and that one is until 10:30 Eastern time. So Taylorsville, that storm should be right around your area right now. Let's move now to, yes. So if I put the radar on here, you can see the leading edge of that storm. As I mentioned before, we're worried about the leading edge. Really where you're seeing all those reds, oranges, that's where, of course, we have the heaviest rainfall, but the leading edge, that's where you can get any kind of rotation there. So this is continuing to track eastward. Most of these have been moving around 50 miles per hour here. So putting that track on there. It'll be over Taylorsville Lake around 10:21. So that's in the next few minutes. We'll continue toward Harrisonville. Harrisonville, you're not currently included in a tornado warning, but I would pay close attention to this particular storm because if it holds together, wouldn't be surprised if that warning does continue to get extended eastward. As we are seeing just enough radar indicated rotation to continue to trigger these tornado warnings along the line, along this cluster of storms that's marching east and southeastward across Kentuckiana this evening. So I know some of you all are probably tuning in along the way. Chief Meteorologist Mallory Schnell here with WHAS 11. We hopped on due to a tornado warning earlier that was in Breckinridge County, and basically this line of storms has continued to track eastward, and it's showing just enough rotation for the National Weather Service to continue to issue these tornado warnings. We do stay on air with you until these tornado warnings have been canceled or allowed to expire. We want to make sure everybody is safe and you are in your safe place. So a reminder, a tornado watch. Many of us are included in that right now. That just means the ingredients are favorable for tornadoes to occur. As we're seeing this evening, a tornado warning means we do want you to seek shelter immediately. You want to head down to your basement, lowest level of your home, away from windows. Make sure your head is protected. That's the most important part. And stay sheltered in place until this does pass to the east. We're going to make it through this storm system with you this evening. So turning back to our radar here, let's show a big picture view to kind of give everybody their bearings about where we're looking at this evening. So this is the big picture view. Let me take off that track that's still wanting to hang on there. So this is, I will say, this has really picked up speed here. This is marching through here very quickly. We were starting to see some storms this evening in southern Indiana, and then the storm system that really packed a punch, or the segment of this, is that one that's been marching in from the west. So it triggered that tornado warning around Brandenburg and has continued to march westward along with it. And in fact, once these few warnings are done, it'll be out of our viewing area because it'll be heading more towards the Lexington viewing area, probably past about 10:45. We'll have to pay attention to that southern edge, but at this point, those storms that are moving through Litchfield right now, crossing I-65 around E-Town, we're just looking at severe thunderstorm warnings. So hopefully once we get through these two tornado warnings that we have in place right now, we can kind of hop off here and regroup and get you ready for the 11 o'clock newscast. But in the meantime, we still do have two warnings that we are watching at this point for the next 10 to 25 minutes with you. So these are all the warnings that we have in place for the Kentuckiana viewing area right now. Green, flash flood warning. That's what we're paying attention to around English in southern Indiana. The red, those two tornado warnings for Nelson County over to Washington County, and then also for portions pretty much moving east of the Louisville Metro at this point around Taylorsville right now. And then those kind of gold or orange colors that you're seeing, those are severe thunderstorm warnings due to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Potentially quarter-sized hail, though hail hasn't been too much of a risk for us this evening. We've been paying more attention to, of course, the straight line wind damage and any kind of rotation that can lead to those isolated tornado spin-ups that we're seeing this evening. So let's zoom into those two particular tornado warnings because, of course, that's the reason why we're cutting into coverage right now. And those are the ones that we're obviously most concerned about. So the one around Taylorsville, this will take us for the next 10 minutes. This is for portions of central Spencer, southwestern Shelby counties, and it is moving eastward, as we've been mentioning all evening, very quickly at 55 miles per hour. So you might be hearing those tornado sirens outside. Just a reminder, tornado sirens are meant for people outside. So that's why you want to have multiple ways to receive warnings on your phone. Many of us are on our phone these days. Weather radio is a great way to receive these warnings, especially at night if you're asleep. Thankfully, these are occurring a little bit earlier in the night, so hopefully most of you all are obviously still up with us tracking these storms. But this one is until 10:30, so we'll see if this continues to get extended eastward, heading toward Frankfort and out of our viewing area at this point. Does look like amateur radio operator in Shelby County reporting a funnel cloud spotted, awaiting details at this point. So a great resource that I have is the National Weather Service chat. We have a lot of back and forth between emergency managers, National Weather Service meteorologists as well, to get an idea of maybe where storm spotters are seeing particular things, give us some ground truth, and also where we can see damage reports. Of course, it's hard to get too much in the way of damage reports when it's this time of night. But most of these tornado warnings, especially this time of night that we see that are issued, are due to radar indicated rotation. So we're seeing the velocity on the radar showing just enough rotation to be worrisome. And as I mentioned, these squall lines can be very tricky. A lot of times you get straight line winds, but we had just enough shear with the setup, just enough spin that leading line of storms can trigger some tornado warnings. And that's exactly what we're seeing this evening. So the southern edge tornado warning, this one, it goes a little bit longer because it was extended eastward. This is until 10:45. So this should be moving out of Bardstown soon. It's moving east at 50 miles per hour, heading toward Washington County. Let me put just the radar on here so we can see where this currently is. So yeah, it's pretty much right over Bardstown as we speak. You can kind of see that little notch there. And basically this area that I'm worried about. And this will continue to push eastward at 50 miles per hour. So it is working its way out of Bardstown at this point, heading toward Washington County. So if you're in Washington County, I need you to be in your safe place for the next 20 minutes to ride out this storm. The storm to the north is moving past Taylorsville at this point, over Taylorsville Lake, and will continue to track eastward as well. So we'll see if they hang that one together as it heads out of our particular viewing area at this point. Yeah, it does look like they're just going to continue to issue a severe thunderstorm warning toward the east side of that particular notch of this storm system. So this is a new severe thunderstorm warning until 11 p.m. for northeastern Shelby, northern Woodford, Scott County, northeastern Anderson County, eastern Henry County, and also Franklin County, due to 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and penny-sized hail.
And we do have some words of safety advice from our friends at Nelson County Emergency Management for our friends who are still under a tornado warning. So just as a reminder to find a basement or a storm shelter to protect yourself, and also an interior room on the lowest floor. Make sure you're away from any windows. And if you are in a vehicle, drive to safety right now for the next about 20 minutes until that warning expires. And if there's no shelter around you, just make sure to lie as low as you can. And an update on these power outages in Kentucky. As of 10:14 tonight, there have been 17,900 in Jefferson County. We've got about 5,600 in Bullitt County, Meade County. We have 2,300 customers without power right now, and Breckenridge is at 2,400 customers right now without power. And we'll see those fluctuate as the storms move through.
All right, thank you, Alex. I do want to say we just got a report from the Meade County emergency manager saying multiple power lines are down. We have trees down with debris on the roadways in Brandenburg. There's a tree on a camper at the Otter Creek campground. Thankfully, no injuries, but multiple power outages coming in there as well. So, of course, that storm passed quite a bit ago in Brandenburg. That was basically the reason why we hopped on coverage here, due to that first tornado warning. But we are starting to get more reports of damage in here. And this time of night, if you don't have to head into work or anything, you don't have an emergency to attend to, just better to stay indoors. And if there is damage, that way the crews can kind of clean that up, because nighttime can be very dangerous, especially where we're seeing some flooding concerns. This isn't even on the severe, this is basically on the backside of this evening. We do have a flash flood warning, a reminder, turn around, don't drown, do not enter any flooded roadways. You cannot see how deep the water is, and you cannot tell if the road is intact underneath that. So this flash flood warning, those of course usually are in place for several hours. That's what we're looking at here until 1:15 a.m. This includes English and Palmyra in southern Indiana. But the reason we're going wall to wall with you right now, or staying on continuous coverage, is due to these 2 tornado warnings. So we have been watching areas of rotation on the radar this evening, where we're seeing just enough spin in the atmosphere where a brief spin-up tornado is possible with this cluster of storms that's tracking through Kentuckiana this evening. And that's why today was a weather impact alert day. We've been watching it all week, level 3 out of 5 on the severe weather outlook. And we are seeing some of that obviously come true this evening, unfortunately. It does look like going back to that Palmyra Lake area. Palmyra Lake Road is flooded and impassable this evening. So that's a big reason why that flash flood warning is in place for portions of southern Indiana, due to reports that we're getting from emergency managers. Very invaluable information from them this evening. So Max HD radar showing the main area of this line of storms that we're really worried about that's continuing to track eastward here. So it's moving out of Taylorsville, and the northern edge here is heading toward Harrisonville at this point. So the red polygons, obviously, those are your tornado warnings. If I take off the sweeping radar here and show you exactly what we're looking at. But the reason I wanted to put on the radar is so you can see basically where the warning is, but also where the leading line of storms has already passed through. So Taylorsville, you're basically in the clear at this point because this is now off to the east, that leading edge. We're always worried about the leading edge of storms here. And Bardstown, this is now passing over you and heading into Washington County at this point, with that tornado warning still in place until 10:45 Eastern time. So these storms are still trucking away pretty quickly at 50 miles per hour. That is some good news, because you want these storms to move through as quickly as possible. So they're over you quickly and they're past you quickly at this point. I'm going to put on a tracker on this evening. So most of these storms are moving east at 50 miles per hour. Let's take the leading edge of this particular storm that's still included in the tornado warning and see if it continues eastward towards Harrodsburg. So Bear Wallow over you right now, Springfield 1035, Mackville 1042, Harrodsburg, if it hangs together, that would be 1056. It does look like on the north edge of this, some good news. So remember that tornado warning that we were looking at for portions of Nelson and Washington County, excuse me. That was until 10:30. It does look like that was allowed to expire just now, and beyond that, they're continuing it as a severe thunderstorm warning. Now, of course, as I mentioned before, severe thunderstorms still not something to take lightly, because we're seeing a lot of those along this leading edge. So if we put on just the warnings and take away the radar here, this shows a lot of colors on this map. The yellow, severe thunderstorm warnings, that's due to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and sometimes up to quarter-sized hail. But we're primarily worried about the winds here. So that does include, Frankfort, Newcastle, just east of Shelbyville at this point, Lebanon, Campbellsville, Mumfordville. You're included in the severe thunderstorm warning. And now we have one tornado warning that's left standing at this point. And that's basically for Washington County. So this is on the far eastern edge of our viewing area. They have chipped away Nelson County. So Nelson County, you are no longer included in that tornado warning. You are in the clear. That does include Bardstown. The main threat has passed off to your east. Now, Washington County, I want you to stay in your safe place for a little bit longer. We got about another 15 minutes of this. So stay at the lowest level of your home, the basement, away from windows. Make sure you stay in that until this leading edge has passed through your area. So you can see that it's currently moving into Washington County right now. And you're seeing these little notches. Anytime you see these little notches along a leading edge, that's where something's trying to spin up. So that's why we do have this tornado warning in place for the next about 13 minutes or so. So Washington County, I want you to stay in your safe place for now. If we zoom out, let's kind of reconfigure where we're looking at. Big picture view, Louisville area, we are clear from that severe weather threat. E-Town, it does look like most of that is now off to your east and southeast. Litchfield, you're in the clear. You might still be getting pockets of heavy rainfall. You might be hearing lightning. Hardensburg, Brandenburg, Fort Knox, Radcliffe, Shepherdsville. If I'm saying you right now, you are in the clear. Valley Station, Fern Creek, Sellersburg, Henryville. Basically, if you are west and northwest of that leading line, you are in the clear in terms of severe weather right now. We still have, however, the one tornado warning until 10:45 for Washington County. So if you're in Washington County, I need you to continue to stay in your safe place at this point until that severe weather threat has passed. Due to the fact that we are seeing some of that radar indicated rotation, and it's better safe than sorry when we start to see that, because it doesn't take much for a tornado to touch down. So this is Willisburg, Pleasant Grove, Booker, Hardesty, Battle, Mackville, Deep Creek. You all need to be in your safe place at this time. I'm looking to see if there's any additional reports into our National Weather Service chat here. Still looks like a lot of tree damage around Brandenburg. We also have the flooding near Palmyra due to that flash flood warning in southern Indiana. Some reports of pea-sized hail in LaGrange. And also some roads that are impassable due to high water in Jeffersonville, Indiana. So we did get a thunderstorm warning report. Wires down on Blue Lick Road, that's in Hillview here in Jefferson County. So a reminder, do not drive over down power lines. It's better just to turn around and go a different direction. All right, so now that I've looked at some of those reports in here, once again, the one warning that we're still watching here is this tornado warning for Washington County. This is for the next 10 minutes here. Due to radar indicated rotation, we did have a severe thunderstorm warning, a severe thunderstorm that was located 7 miles north of Springfield. That was at 10:30. That was the latest update, and it's moving east at 45 miles per hour. So if you are included in this, I know I sound like a broken record. We tend to do so when we do the severe weather coverage, but you do want to make sure you are in your safe place. That means getting to the lowest level at home. That means getting away from windows. If you do not have a basement, just get to the lowest level, an interior room away from windows. Hunker down for the next 10 minutes. It will be in and out very quickly. Better safe than sorry there. Make sure you do protect your head, something like a blanket or a pillow. Of course, that's very important there. And many of us have been included in a tornado watch. You might have gotten those updates throughout the evening. That difference between a tornado watch and a tornado warning. A watch means that we have the right ingredients. A watch is issued for a bigger geographic area, like most of our Kentucky, and a viewing area for several hours. Many of us were included in that until 1 a.m. just to be safe. Tornado warning means that it is imminent. The thunderstorm is causing enough concern that you do need to seek shelter immediately. These tornado warnings, as we've been seeing this evening, have only been issued for about a half hour at a time, and really for a county or portions of a county until that threat has passed. You want to seek shelter when that warning is issued, and then once you're in the clear, you're in the clear. So let's take a look at the radar here and see what areas are in the clear this evening, because I know that does a lot for storm anxiety. I totally get it. So if we pull up Max HD radar here and kind of take that big picture view of what we're looking at. Sorry, the screen is black for a moment. It is loading. I'm putting a lot of work into our Max system this evening with the radar. But here's that big picture view. So you can tell what the strongest portion of a storm cluster or storm system is. It's really easy. Where's the lightning? That's where it's tapping into all that fuel. So that leading line, as it continues to track eastward, it's heading closer to Frankfort, Lexington, heading through Bardstown, E-Town, Litchfield, Campbellsville. It's on its way to you. That's where the strongest part of this system is currently located. That's where it's tapping into all that fuel. You had lightning and you heard thunder and you no longer hear it. You just hear rain pitter-pattering on your roof. You're pretty much in the clear of that severe weather threat because we are more focused on the leading line. So if you are behind this leading line here, you are in the clear in terms of that severe weather threat. So that's some good news. Let me make this a different color so you can see that a little bit more clearly. Bear with me for a moment. There we go. So if you are west, north, northwest of that line, you are in the clear in terms of that severe weather threat this evening. If you're off to the east, we're still seeing those storms pack a punch, even if you're not included in that tornado warning. At this point, it's only for Washington County. You are still dealing with some severe thunderstorm warnings that contain storms with wind gusts of 60+ miles per hour. Also, the potential for hail, although as I mentioned off the top, hail is not really what we're so much worried about with this system. We're worried more about the wind and that isolated tornado potential. So in terms of the warnings that we're looking at as we speak, let's turn on just the warnings so you can see where they're located. As you can tell, that same area, if you are north and west of this line, you are in the clear. Now, I will say we do have a flash flood warning that includes portions of southern Indiana just due to where a heavy rainfall fell and also where we're looking at some flooded roadways and such. All right, according to the National Weather Service Louisville, good news, that rotation in Washington County, it's weakening. We're still getting some gusty winds with it, but that is certainly what we like to see. But of course, we will stick with you until that tornado warning has been canceled or allowed to expire. I'm assuming we're going to let it go for the next 5 minutes because we just have 5 more minutes with that. But the general direction of all these storms has been moving east 45 to 55 miles per hour. So thankfully, if you were under a tornado warning, this has been trucking along pretty quickly, pushing off to the east and southeast. So the main tornado warning that we are looking at, the only one that's remaining at this point, is the one for Washington County. So let's zoom into that, see if there's been any changes with this. Washington County, I still need you to be in your safe place for now, even though we're starting to see some good signs on radar that this is weakening somewhat. This is just for the next 5 or 6 minutes here. So a tornado warning for Washington County as this storm system continues to track eastward around 45 miles per hour. Now, if we zoom out to the areas that are also along that leading line, but not seeing any kind of, in terms of a spin or rotation, we're still seeing some warnings due to 60-mile-per-hour wind gust, penny-sized hail. You can see Shelbyville included in that, just off to the east there, as that marches more so over toward Frankfort, on the east side of Newcastle as well. In Shelby County, Woodford County, Scott County, Anderson County, Henry County, and Franklin County. And then on the south side, we also have another kind of cluster of severe thunderstorm warnings. This will take us for the next 5 minutes or so. This is due to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and nickel-sized hail. So hail is possible with these storms, but really not the main threat that we're looking at. 60-mile-per-hour winds with that storm that's heading toward Munfordville. So let's keep these on. I'm going to take off the kind of text boxes there. But let's keep the warnings on and put the radar back on top of it. All right. You can see all that lightning. I'm going to take off the lightning. Obviously, we're still seeing quite a bit of heavy rainfall with these severe thunderstorm warnings. So they're still going to pack a punch with gusty winds, heavy rainfall as well. But this tornado warning that's pretty much right over Willisburg right now, heading toward Mackville. This is starting to work its way closer to Harrodsburg. Once this is out of Washington County, we should be allowed to resume network coverage, but we're going to stick with you for the next 5 minutes until this is out of our particular viewing area. Want to make sure everybody's safe. But if you still want to track the storms, of course, we'll be back at 11 p.m. with our normal newscast. But this is good. This is moving through very quickly. So our severe weather potential is really starting to wind down a bit. Of course, we still have our southeastern corner of our viewing area. So around Campbellsville, still watching those storms to approach your area. Columbia, Dare County as well. But at this point, kind of the southern stream of this, you can see in south central Kentucky, we've just been seeing some severe thunderstorm warnings. It's basically been that one area that was showing just enough rotation for there to be an issue and for there to be a tornado warning issued for those areas. So I'm going to put a track on here. This was moving 45 miles per hour. Put that eastward. And you can see the updated timeline here. So basically right over Mackville, headed toward Harrodsburg within the next 15 to 20 minutes. I'm going to see if there's any more updates from the National Weather Service. Alex, do you have any updates over there?
Yes, we do. So Meade County Rural Electric Cooperative just posted to social media about 30 minutes ago that in Meade County there are about 4,000 outages of power right now across their system. And that again is Rural Cooperative. They are saying that high winds and heavy rain are continuing in portions of the area. So as soon as it's safe to do so, their crews will go out to work to restore the power. But because there are storms forecast to come later through the night, they are asking everyone to be safe and stay away from downed power lines. And we're starting to see some power outages pop up in Henry County and Spencer County. Jefferson County, we're up to 22,000 customers without power right now. Meade County is up to 2,500 customers without power, and Breckenridge is up to 3,000 customers right now. Spencer County is only about 225. And then Henry County, we have about 147 customers without power right now.
Thank you, Alex. So some good news here. As we mentioned earlier, the National Weather Service was showing that that particular storm over Washington County was starting to weaken. The rotation was kind of loosening up a little bit. So it does look like downstream of that, as it's heading east towards Harrodsburg, they're going to drop the tornado warning portion of it and just continue with a severe thunderstorm warning. Now, of course, we're still talking wind gusts, 60 miles per hour possible. That can still cause damage, as we've been seeing this evening. That can still cause power outages. So I would still recommend that, of course, you head indoors. And that particular storm downstream of that, headed towards Harrodsburg, they've actually it's a higher end of that severe thunderstorm warning, where it's 70 mile per hour wind gusts. So it can certainly pack a punch and cause as much damage as a tornado, but just not seeing as much tight rotation with that anymore. But once again, the reason that we're still on with you for potentially the next minute or so is due to this tornado warning, Washington County, that we've been tracking until 10:45. Let's put the radar on here. It's starting to make its way out of Washington County. And I do think once it pushes eastward here, we'll be able to resume regular coverage. And it just was. All right, so let's take a big picture view before we wrap this thing up here. Louisville, we are seeing rain at this point. Your severe weather threat is over. And most of the area, looking at that severe weather threat, that is over. We're continuing to see, of course, rain behind that, some flooding concerns as well. But in terms of just warnings at this point, we are looking at severe thunderstorm warnings that are continuing along the edge of this line, the leading edge, moving out of the Kentuckiana viewing area and heading toward Lexington and Frankfort this evening. So we can still see 60 mile per hour wind gusts, heavy rainfall. We still, of course, have that flash flood warning that you're seeing in the green around English and Palmyra this evening. But thankfully, the tornado watch, or the tornado warning, the tornado warnings have been dropped for our particular viewing area at this point. So at this time, we can resume regular coverage. We will be back with you in just about 14 minutes with our regular newscast at 11 p.m. So you can tune in there for the latest look at the radar, latest look at the futurecast, and your 7-day forecast. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope everybody stayed safe, and I'll catch you again in 14 minutes.
See.